how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com, here with the LG Cosmos Touch from Verizon Wireless. It's a messaging phone, and it's actually a follow-up to the original Cosmos, which didn't have a touchscreen. So the Cosmos Touch obviously adds a touchscreen and still has the same physical keyboard. So I've been testing it out for about a week. I'm going to give you guys a full review, tell you what I think about it, the pros and the cons. But first of all, I have to thank the guys at Best Buy Mobile for sending us the Cosmos Touch. One of the great things about Best Buy Mobile is that they sell phones from every major carrier. So say you don't really know which carrier you want to go with, or you want to switch, but you don't know which one to switch to, you can go to Best Buy Mobile. They'll give you their honest opinion on every phone, no matter what carrier it's on, because they don't work for the carriers, they work for you. So thank you, Best Buy Mobile, for being so awesome. Thank you guys for watching this video, the Cosmos Touch review. I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com. Let's go check it out. Okay, so here is the Cosmos Touch with Verizon Wireless, and it actually is a pretty small device. I know most phones look, pretty big because my hands are so small, but it's actually pretty small. So it's only about 4 inches by 2 inches, which is generally, the standard size for most feature phones, but just to emphasize that it's not really as big as it looks. It is pretty thick. It's over ½ inch thick. It's actually 0.65 inches thick. So a little bit on the thick side. It's kind of a chunky phone. They managed to make it look a little more sleek because of the curved edges, but it is sort of a thick, short phone, but that's because it has the physical keyboard. So this screen here, the display is a 2.8 inch display. It is a resistive touchscreen, so that's kind of a bummer, but most messaging phones and feature phones have resistive touchscreens, so it's not too big of a deal. There are a couple that have capacitive touchscreens, but it's not too big of a deal that it has a resistive touchscreen. Has a resolution of 240 by 400, and it actually looks pretty good. I was pretty impressed with the way the colors showed up. Now, a lot of people noticed in the unboxing that there was a scratch on the screen, and I noticed it too, and then as I was using it, it got scratched again. But actually what happened was that there was a screen protector on it, and I didn't realize it was on there so well, I couldn't tell. So that was the screen protector that got scratched, actually really easily, which is not a big deal because you can take it off. And then the screen itself, I haven't had a problem since then. I haven't noticed, any scratches. So the screen looks pretty good. As far as being a resistive touchscreen, it's not bad. Being a girl, I have nails, so I kind of have an advantage. But I didn't really notice too much of a problem. It's pretty smooth. Scrolling seemed to be pretty easy. Just, using basic menu functions. I really didn't have any problems with the resistive touchscreen. Now, as far as speeds and performance, obviously the processor is a bit slow, but even then the lag was not really noticeable at all, which is really saying something, because a lot of feature phones, there is a bit of a lag. Even LG phones suffer from that from time to time, but I didn't really notice that with the Cosmos Touch. Everything was pretty smooth. You can see as I go through each display, just maybe like ½ a second, but it's really not that bad scrolling through, loading menus. I was actually pretty impressed with the overall speed and performance. Now, I'll give you just a little tour of the UI. You have, as you've seen through the video, there's 3 displays. This display is actually messaging, but not necessarily just text messages. You can see at the bottom, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and then this is Social Beat, which kind of brings all of this together. So you can actually, as you can see I've done here, you can actually set up your Twitter account with the phone. So if I were to select Twitter, I could just type a message, and then it will send it to my Twitter account. It will update it in my profile. So then it will show, messages basically as speech bubbles, as you can see here. It'll also show text messages, Facebook. So kind of a nifty page here to bring all of that together. And then you can just access Social Beat, which takes you to an actual app where you can see all of your at replies and direct messages. Then you have the main page. You can have widgets. You have this shortcut page, but then there's actually a couple more options. So in order to get there, I'm going to have to delete that, and then add. So here's a list. You can see Bluetooth, browse and download, calculator, drawing pad, extras, calculator again. music. So there's several options. Not all of them are, features that I would actually use on my home screen. So there are a lot of options, but not all of them are exactly practical. So there's a couple that you'd probably use on a regular basis. Then you can just drag them out to this main display here. So kind of nifty. I always like it whenever manufacturers use a UI that somehow incorporates, widgets and icons. So that's pretty cool. Then you have a page for your favorite contacts, which you can, just easily add the contact. Then you have just the main menu. There is a dock at the bottom that takes you to messages, calls, menu, and then your contacts. So I like the UI. Again, like I said, I always like it when they have widgets and icons. And then this whole page is pretty cool. I think that's kind of something different. I've never really seen that before. And then as you can see, it is a threaded text messaging style. It's set up in sort of speech bubbles there. So the phone does have a camera. It's, not a very good camera. It's a 1.3 megapixel camera. It has 2 times digital zoom, but, I really think that they definitely should have had a much better camera. For a while there, they kind of started, going away from 1.3 megapixels and getting up to 2 or 3 megapixels. Now it seems lately they've been going back to 1.3 megapixels. So it's really disappointing. It's not a cheap phone. It's $80 on contract. So it's sort of in the middle there. I would expect at least a 2 megapixel camera. Really a 3 megapixel camera, even without flash and autofocus, would have been fine. It also does not capture video, so keep that in mind. It does have a couple features: noise reduction, night mode, white balance, but picture quality was really subpar. You can't really blame it because it's only 1 megapixel. There is a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. You do have a music player, and there's also a micro SD card slot right here, and so it supports up to 16 gigabytes. Doesn't come with a card, but it does support it, and it's nice that it's an external card slot instead of being underneath the battery cover. So if you listen to music, those are a couple of things that work in your advantage. Having extra storage, the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and then it does have a music player. Now, as far as battery life was actually pretty good. It ships with a 1000 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty standard. And you can see I still have nearly a full battery, and it's actually been on standby for nearly a week. And so, I've plugged it in here and there, but really I haven't really plugged it in, overnight or, for a couple hours. So on standby, since I have kept it charged a little bit, I would still say that it would last probably about 4 or 5 days at least on standby. And then even, during that time when I was using it, battery performance was really good. It didn't drain very quickly just because I started using certain features. So I was pretty impressed with that. So we'll move on now to the keyboard. I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about that. I was standing here figuring out what else could I talk about with this phone, and then I realized the keyboard. So it does have a physical keyboard. It's pretty small just because the device itself is pretty small, and you can see it's a little bit different. Just it has kind of a different color scheme. Now the keys are sort of the slippery plastic. Some people love that. Personally, for me, it's a little too slippery. We'll go to new text message and type out a new message. So for me, it was a little too slippery, but I understand some people like that. And then, once you get around that, it's really a pretty good keyboard. So let me type out the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So, I had one mistake there. Overall, it was pretty good. They are sort of slippery. They're not the rubbery type that, give you a little more grip. You can see they're sort of raised. They're not very flat. They're raised just enough to make them comfortable. And then it's set up in a grid. Spacebar in a row of letters, which, kind of is a little more difficult for me to get used to, but if you're going to use this on a daily basis, then you're eventually going to get used to that, so it's not too big of a deal. You can see I have a couple shortcuts here for messages, and then social beat. I believe that it takes you to social beat. I thought it was kind of weird they have the upside down question mark that is actually used in Spanish a lot whenever if you're typing in Spanish, you can use that. Kind of interesting. But anyway, overall the keyboard, you know, personally, there was a couple things that I didn't like about it. For one thing, the slippery keys, the space bar between the V and the B, but that's not a problem for everybody. You know, some people don't mind that. So once you get around that, it's a pretty good keyboard. You know, it's pretty easy to type on. You know, I don't really think a dedicated row of numbers is necessary. And, you know, because they had to cram that in there, then we had the problem with the space bar. So, but that's pretty common on messaging phones. It's not just the Cosmos Touch. So, you know, if that doesn't bother you, then overall it's a pretty great keyboard. Then you have the D-pad here that you can also use. And again, like I said, it does have threaded text messaging. You also have the T9 keypad you can use there if you'd like. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's the Cosmos Touch, and overall, my final say is that it's a pretty cool little phone. I like the UI, the speed, the performance was pretty good. The keyboard wasn't too bad. You know, there may have been a few things that I personally didn't like, but I think you could easily get used to those things if they don't bother you too much. And then Again, I like the UI. There's just little things that make it kind of cool. Like, for example, whenever you unlock it, it actually has the slide to unlock thing, which is sort of like a smartphone, you know, if you want to go there. So it's just little things like that that actually make it pretty cool. And the display itself isn't bad. Now, it does have features like Bing search, mobile web, mobile email. You know, these things, they're okay. They performed, you know, somewhat well, but it's not really going to be the best experience. I wouldn't really recommend getting this phone if you want to do a lot of web browsing. And then again, if you do use those features, you're going to have to pay for data. But it does have them. Also has VZ Navigator. So it's $79.99 on contract after rebates from Verizon. Is it worth it? Yeah, I definitely think it is. Right now on PhoneDog, our top messaging phones list for Verizon, the Cosmos Touch is one of the top 3. So it's definitely a good device. And the only downside was the camera quality was definitely pretty poor. But other than that, it's a great little device, great little messaging phone. I would definitely recommend it. Check it out at Verizon.com or at your local Verizon store. Also, be sure and check out PhoneDog.com and our Facebook page, Facebook.com/PhoneDog, for a chance to win an iPad, a Galaxy Tab, or a BlackBerry Playbook. We're giving away a ton of tablets. All you have to do is like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. But anyway, I'm Sydney. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you guys later.